As a United States citizen, it is one of your duties to vote in elections. It is the law that you have to be 18 to vote, and any woman or man can vote. At one point in history, the only people that could vote were white men. Women and African Americans were not allowed to vote. The 19th Amendment was a 7-year battle over women's rights to vote. This amendment granted women the right to vote, also known as women's suffrage. It was ratified on August 18, 1920. Wyoming was the first state to grant voting rights to women. My name is Brittany Morris, and I'm going to take you back to the history and struggles of the 19th Amendment. Women were known as the housekeepers and are distinguished in motherhood. The men called the shots and focused on working, politics, and owning property. Women played a large role in religious movements, moral reform societies, and anti-slavery organizations. The cult of true womanhood revolved around the women being the center of the household and the family, and they were considered the light of the home. Women did not agree with this. They wanted to be a bigger part in society. They didn't want to be treated like this any longer. Although it was refreshing to be the light of the home, women wanted to have a voice in elections. The women decided to stand up for themselves and organize rallies, conventions, and parades demanding respect in society. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott organized the first Women's Rights Convention at Seneca Falls, New York in July of 1848. As you can see, these are the women that organized. More than 300 people attended, majority women, but a few men did as well. The Declaration of Sentiments, also known as Declaration of Rights and Sentiments, is a document signed in 1848 by 68 women and 32 men, 100 out of some 300 attendees at the first Women's Rights Convention to be organized by women. The press played a large role in the rejection of women's voting rights. The press mocked the idea of women voting, stating that they will turn society around for the worse. The women's rights movement found itself divided over the issue of voting rights for African Americans along with women. People believed that if women should vote, so should African American men. Many groups were formed during the women's suffrage as well. The National Women's Suffrage Association, also known as NWSA, was formed on May 15, 1869 in New York City. The National Association was created in response to a split in the American Equal Rights Association over whether the women's movement should support the 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Another group formed, the American Women's Suffrage Association, also known as AWSA, was formed in November 1869 in response to a split in the American Equal Rights Association over the 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Its founders who supported the 15th Amendment included Lucy Stone, Henry Blackwell, and Julia Ward Howe. Women tried promoting women's voting rights in every way they could. Also, with forming groups, they formed suffrage parades. One of the well-remembered events from women's suffrage was the Women's Suffrage Parade of 1913, which was the first suffragist demonstration in Washington, D.C. All of the women's hard work started paying off after a long fight for their rights. Women's voting rights spread to Arizona, Arkansas, California, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Michigan, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New York, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, and Washington. President Woodrow Wilson switched his views to supporting women's rights to vote. The proposal failed in the Senate by 2 votes in 1918. The proposal passed the House 304 to 89, 42 votes above the required 2/3 majority. On June 4, 1919, the Senate passed the 19th Amendment by 2 votes over its 2/3 required majority, 56 to 25. The 19th Amendment was then ratified, coming down to Representative Harry T. Burns' vote. On November 2, 1920, more than 800 million women voted for the first time. To this day, the 19th Amendment has not been repealed, and women vote in every election they desire. Thank you for letting me tell you about the history of the 19th Amendment.